Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
We're going to start with the headline that we saw today, and it is now a good time to buy a home? Most Americans don't think so. And Gallup says it's the first time more than 50% of people feel that way. We both strongly believe that if there was, no, we're not saying there's going to be a housing market crash, but if there was going to be a housing market crash, that negative sentiment and negative consumer confidence would cause that. Right. So let's first talk about, before we talk about sentiment, because they've got polling data we're going to go over here. Let's talk about what's consumer confidence index. This is not about housing. This is just the consumer confidence index. What is it, and how do they generate it? Like, how do they get the consumer confidence index?
Right, so they survey people and they ask them 5 questions. 2 are present, 3 are future. So they ask them, what do you think is going on as far as business? What do you think is going on as far as employment today? And then the same thing going forward. What do you think is going to happen regarding business going forward? What do you think is going to happen regarding employment going forward? And last but not least, how do you feel your family's income is going to progress going forward? And based on these answers, that's how they generate the consumer sentiment. Now, we thought this was important to go over because we all hear about consumer sentiment, but most of us have no clue as to how that number is even generated or how they establish that. So it's these 5 simple questions that generate this consumer sentiment number. And
to clarify just a little more, when they specifically ask about the future, they just say the next 6 months.
Right.
And then they only have 3 choices: positive, negative, or neutral. And then they take all that information and aggregate it and come up with this thing. So Wanda, let's talk about that consumer confidence and the economy. What kind of economy do we have, and how strongly does people's consumption and everything affect the whole economy? And then we'll talk about housing after that.
Right. So we have a consumer-driven economy. That means that so long as everybody's spending money, the economy's chugging along, everybody's got a job because you're going out and buying things, so there people have to make things, people have to sell things, you're going out to restaurants, people have to cook your food and serve your food and clean up after you and all that good stuff, right? But when people have a negative sentiment about the economy, people tend to hunker down. They tend to spend less. When people spend less, then we don't need as many workers. That creates unemployment. And the more unemployment we have, the less spending there is. And it's this whole snowball effect where that's how the economy gets hurt. So long as we're all happy-go-lucky and we feel things are good, the economy is going to thrive. As long as we feel that things are bad, the economy is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The economy will do poorly. If we think it will do poorly, it will generally do well if we think it will do well.
Okay, so housing is a piece of the economy.
It is.
It's a separate portion of the economy. This is really the first time ever since Gallup started doing these polls that people found that they were not happy about purchasing. The biggest complaint primarily is because of how housing is now relatively expensive. It is relatively expensive. Obviously, home prices have gone up substantially. That doesn't mean the market's going to collapse, because there are many other times home prices have gone up that didn't collapse. So let's go through some of these quotes. A new poll from Gallup found only 30% Americans believe now is a good time to buy a house. It's the lowest level on record since Gallup been surveying Americans on this question began in 1978. It's the first time less than 50% of people across the country thought it was a good time to buy. Now this is not everybody, because we don't have 50% of the people in the country trying to buy a house right now. It seems that way. If you're buying a house, it seems like half the country is also trying to buy that same house.
I think it seems like 150% of the people in that country are trying to buy the house, because you've got multiple offers and it's hard to get one accepted, and we feel your pain.
Right. So, but the mere fact is that even though there's a lot of people who say, hey, I don't think for me this is the right time or whatever, there's still a lot of people who are probably, they feel the other way.
Right.
Because they're out there buying.
Well, they are. And it's not just a sentiment, but it's also a necessity, right? People are buying houses because it's a necessity. We all need someplace to live, and for whatever reason, it makes more sense for them to buy a house, whether it's economic sense because they they want control of their finances, so they want to know that this is their cost for housing going forward, and they don't want to be at the whim of a landlord. Maybe it's the location because they want to be in a certain location. Maybe it's just that warm and fuzzy feeling that it's your own home and you can put up your pictures and plant your flowers and that sort of thing. Whatever the reason is, buying a home is still something that, in particular for Americans, it means a lot to us.
What would be scary right now is if people were still exuberant about buying houses. Hey, I feel strongly in the housing market. I think I should go buy. And home prices are going up, because then that's kind of scary.
Well, it is, because that would push the market that much higher and that much faster, particularly in an environment where we already have low inventory levels.
This is good news, actually. Gallup survey found that attitudes toward buying a house grew more pessimistic in every region of the country across all subgroups, including renters and homeowners. The largest drop-off occurred among suburban residents. Last year, 60% of suburban residents said it was a good time to buy. Only 27% said that in April, which was last month.
Right. So again, I think that has to do with, generally speaking, suburbia has seen a lot of price appreciation, and people are looking at that and going, whoa. And I think that plays into it.
Only 25% of people between the age of 18 and 34 believe the timing is right to becoming a homeowner.
Right. And I kind of have to wonder about their perspective, because they are new to the home buying game. And so I think that they're looking at the near term as to what their experience has been with home prices, so that they're seeing this rapid appreciation and it's scaring them, because they're old enough to remember the house crash, and maybe their parents had to do a short sale or something like that. Or maybe they went through a foreclosure. So they're old enough to remember that, but they're not old enough to really have gone through multiple cycles of the housing market. So any sort of dramatic shift in the housing market is enough to deter them from wanting to participate in the housing market.
What's interesting, though, is that even though people said it was not, they didn't believe it was a good time right now, most people said it, 70% of all respondents said they expect the average price in their homes in their area to increase over the next year.
Right.
That's crazy.
So let me get this straight. I think it's a bad time to buy a house, but I think house prices are going to go up.
Right.
How does that work?
18% said they stayed the same, 12% said they thought they would drop. Right. And those 12% are all making videos for the last 2 years saying the housing market would collapse. They've talked a bunch of people out of buying a house, maybe. We don't know. And, they've been wrong so far.
Right.
Because 70% of people say they're still going to keep going up.
Right.
And all the banks and CoreLogic and everybody else's are going to go up.
Right. So look, the banks are the people that would know more than the rest of us, because it's their money that is buying these homes, right? Because when you get a mortgage, you're not buying the house with your money, you're buying the house with the bank's money. So the banks are very much incentivized to keeping good track of what home values will be, because it is their money that's buying all these homes.
Okay. Clearly, negative sentiment, this is kind of negative, when less than 50 people say this is the right time to buy a house. We'll see what effect this has. We'll see, we'll probably look at this again in 6 months and do another video and see if sentiment has changed. And then maybe a year from now, this is kind of an every 6 months to get an idea of sentiment for buying. But here's the ultimate, the end game for this whole thing. This is the last thing we're going to put up. Despite most people expecting homeownership to be a harder goal to achieve, Americans still tend to view it as the best long-term investment. Nearly half the people Gallup polled, 45%, said that real estate was the best. The best long-term investment. 24% stocks, 15% said gold. And nobody said crypto, or obviously other people said other things, because 45, 24, and 15 is not 100. So there were probably people that said other things. And they just got rid of them because they were not in the top 3.
Okay. But, keep in mind that at the end of the day, like I always say, real estate is something that we all need, because we all need a home in which to live. And other investments that we make, while they may go up in value or they may go down in value, for the most part, other investments are nowhere near as valuable to us personally as our homes.
Yeah. We thought this was interesting because, we personally learn of a lot of sentiment through you guys and the comments you post. And, we do read all the comments and we respond to most of them. And obviously there's a difference of opinion based on your experience and, what you believe or what your wish will happen or whatever. We have a different set of experience because we have participated in housing for really our whole adult lives and purchasing houses, then professionally being in this industry where we have sold them for the banks, we have flipped homes, we have owned our own investment homes, we've managed investment homes for other people. So we have a pretty good idea of what, and specifically regarding Las Vegas real estate market, and then these are national numbers though.
Right.
But what's interesting is that the national numbers were tended to be relatively consistent because what's going on in real estate is pretty much going on everywhere. We did a video before we talked about this where it was like 49 states home prices appreciated in the last year.
Right.
And then, or 48 states, and 49 states people said they thought they would appreciate again in the next year.
Right. But remember, real estate is hyper-local, so we have also done videos on places where real estate values are either stagnant or declining. So it does matter as to what market you're in and what sector of the market you're looking at. So if you're not in Las Vegas, definitely chat with your real estate professional and make sure that you know what's happening in your market. But even within a municipality or within a county or however your area is organized, even within that, there are places where real estate is doing better than others, and so it depends on where your property is. So take a close look at that before you make any big decisions, any big choices. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe, share the video, leave us comments. We do want to know what you think. We do want to know from your experience because we learn from your experiences as well. We're very interested in you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.